and gentlemen, as most of you already know, I am your host, Manu, and this is the second edition of the Battery Show India 2024 by Informa Markets. And I extend a very warm welcome to you all to the next session on our agenda, which is a panel discussion powered by Frost and Sullivan. The topic of discussion is evolving battery energy storage technology manufacturing landscape in India, investment and export opportunities. Energy storage system is a fast emerging as an essential part of the evolving clean energy systems of the 21st century. Energy storage represents a huge economic opportunity for India as well as the world. Ambitious goals, concerted strategies and a collaborative approach could help India meet its emission reduction targets while avoiding import dependency for battery packs and cells. This could also help innovation boost its manufacturing capabilities, create new jobs, generate export opportunities, and foster economic growth. Now that I have all of you quite inquisitive and looking forward to the discussion, let me call upon stage, without further ado, our esteemed moderator for the discussion, Mr. Rudranil Roy Sharma, who's the Director, Energy and Environment, MEA, Frost and Sullivan. A huge round of applause for Mr. Rudranil Roy Sharma, ladies and gentlemen. The first panelist that I would like to call upon stage to join Mr. Rudranil is Mr. Atul Arya, Head Energy Systems Division, Panasonic. A huge round of applause for Mr. Atul Arya, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll give a small introduction of Mr. Atul Arya. He is the head of the Energy System Divisions at Panasonic India, Panasonic Life Solutions India. In his current role, he is spearheading Panasonic's ambition to be a leader in the energy storage market in India and other emerging countries. He has experience across manufacturing, data center and T&D sector with global companies like Siemens, Schneider Electric and Alstom. Thank you so much for joining the panel.
The next panelist that I would like to call upon stage is Mr. Prashant Kumar, Deputy Managing Director, LG Energy Solution India Private Limited.
Mr. Prashant Kumar is a seasoned leader in the battery and the EV industry with over 15 years of experience in business development, strategy execution and project management. Currently serving as the Deputy Managing Director at LG Energy Solutions India, he oversees the company's entire battery business in India and the neighboring countries, including EV, energy storage system and the automotive division. His role also involves evaluating opportunities for localization and supporting the Make in India initiative. Thank you so much.
The next panelist that I would like to invite on stage is Mr. Aditya Agarwal, CEO, Battery Business, Vari.
Mr. Aditya Agarwal is working with Vari Group as CEO Battery Business. Prior to this, he is working with JSW Energy for almost 17 years and he built up their renewable business. Prior to JSW, he was with NTPC Limited for 16 years. He is an engineer and an MBA from FMS Delhi. Thank you so much.
And last but not the least, the final panelist, Mr. Ankur Arora, who's the Head of Sales, India and SAARC, Hexacom.
With over 15 years of experience, Ankur is a seasoned professional in the telecom and the energy domain solution industries, driving strategic sales, marketing and business operations. Currently, he manages a potential business worth $100 million in Hexacom, showcasing ability to handle high-stake responsibilities. His approach involves a perfect balance of tactical and long-term drivers, allowing him to foster strong partnership with customers and achieve mutual success. I welcome all the panelists.
Just one quick second. These are hand mics, so they only work when you hold it close to your mouth and point it towards the mouth. If you keep it like this or this, people will not be able to hear your diamonds which are going to come out of your mouth after me. So just a word of advice, please keep the mouthpieces very close to you when you're talking so that we do not miss out on any information that we get from you. We need to take everything whatever we get here today. So without further delay, handing over the baton of the discussion to you, Rudranil sir. The stage is all yours. Thank you so much and welcome
Manu.
all.
Thank you. Okay, I will start with Mr. Atul Arya. So Panasonic has been at the forefront of energy storage innovations globally. With your vast knowledge and expertise, kindly give us a brief about what Panasonic is offering for the Indian market in the storage space. And also, if you can take us through the technological evaluation that is happening in the EV and the stationary space within lithium ion and beyond lithium ion, maybe talking about sodium ion or the solid state batteries, if you can give your insights.
Thank you very much. Maybe I will start with the second part of the question, sodium ion solid state, because that is what people like to hear more.
Yes.
So I think the new technologies, and there are many more, by the way, sodium sulfur, metal air, so many new technologies people are talking. And these are all, at this point of time, various companies are trying to develop, but they have very, very different objectives. Let us not confuse ourselves by saying that one battery is going to replace another battery, because many times when we hear new technology, we think like it's a new car. So my old car is now useless, I should buy a new car or a new iPhone model. It's not like this. It is going to be a targeted objective based chemistries or batteries. For example, sodium ion may not be a substitute for the current lithium ion high energy density. It may be a substitute to a low energy density battery, or maybe a low cost battery, but may not replace that. Similarly, solid state, which is again has been under discussion, development for a long time, will also solve another problem, but not really replace everything. Are they ready? I think none of it is ready. And when I say ready again, it doesn't mean that it is not ready in the lab. Maybe in the lab, many things are ready. But is it ready to come out? Maybe not, because you need to test it in the real life environment. You need to test it for a longer duration, for safety, for repeatability. And even after you do that, you still need to figure out how to manufacture, at a larger volume, because if something comes up, it cannot be a small cottage industry kind of a product. So you need to figure out how to commercialize in a large factory which meets the market demand. And then you also need to figure out the supply chain, because if it is a new chemistry, the supply chain could be very different. While we all say sodium is easily available, but we don't know what grade of sodium is required, how much refinement is required. So I think these are a lot of questions which need to be answered. But a simple way to check whether it is ready or not is to look at your small devices, because typically new chemistry will come, and if it can be used in some of your consumer electronic devices, for example, your smartwatch, your mobile phone, because that is where it will get first tested at a smaller scale, more easy to manufacture, more easy to assemble, and then probably it will go to a larger scale. So if you can see any of the devices using any of these, then you can be sure that it may take some lesser time to really become a larger mobility or stationary sort of battery. So this is about newer chemistries and newer technologies. And coming to what Panasonic has been doing, Panasonic, of course, has been making batteries. When I say batteries, it may not mean lithium-ion batteries, for over 100 years. Starting with the dry batteries, and we still continue to do that. And then variety of nickel cadmium, nickel metal hydride, and variety of other things which we do. Lithium-ion space, we have been there for more than 3.5 decades now. And as a company, we have been commercializing latest sort of chemistries, latest innovation in terms of not just the cell sizes but also the energy density. You may have all seen the news of latest 4680 form factor of the cell, which is very high energy density product. So this is the direction which as a company we have been taking, because we believe that high energy density will solve two purposes. A, it will be able to remove that what do you call range anxiety, because you can then pack much larger capacity in a smaller footprint of volume or weight. And B, it also solves the problem of pricing, because higher energy density means you can pack more energy with less amount of usage of materials. So therefore you can reach two objectives at the same time. It takes a little bit of time because it's a difficult thing to manage higher energy density in smaller sizes, but that is what is the innovation which company has been doing. So I think I'll stop here, and if there are more questions, then we can talk more about it.
Sure, sure. Thank you for that. So I'll now ask Mr. Prashant Kumar about little bit about the EV part. So we know that LG has been a prominent supplier of batteries to the EV industry. Would like to understand what is LG's position for the India market. And second thing is with kind of a manufacturing happening in India for both modules and cells, what is your opinion? What kind of an opportunity that you foresee, and whether India would be able to meet its demand for EV batteries from the local market, or will still continue to import?
Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you for having me here. I think I'm extremely honored to be part of this distinguished panel. It's been a long days for every one of us, I suppose. So I would like to make it a little bit quick. Well, as far as LG is concerned, we started operations in terms of lithium-ion batteries way back in 1999, where the first product was initially, been launched, and then from laptops and coming to the power banks and IT products, we started diversification. In terms of Indian operations for LG Energy Solution, initially which was a part of LG Chem, the battery division, we started in 2012. India's first lithium-ion battery project, I'm really glad to tell you, was installed in 2012 with 275 kilowatt hour. And at that time, the prices were significantly high, around $700 or $800 per kilowatt hour. So that was a part of an ESS division. Then, with the support of the head office, with the support from the management side, we decided that, okay, let's time to diversify a little bit more beyond ESS. We started exploring opportunities in terms of cylindrical cells with 18650 starting. We started with the power bank applications, and then we started moving towards e-wheeler segments. In e-wheelers, or in electric vehicles, I should say like this, we seems to be claiming a significant amount of portions in the Indian market. Of course, I'm not in liberty to disclose the names of the OEMs, but all I can say is that some of the top OEMs have given us opportunity, and we are extremely glad for that they have selected LG cells. So we are playing a significant amount, more than 45 to 50% of the market share in terms of two-wheelers. Now, at the same time, while the support is coming from the government of India in terms of FAME and now recently launching of PM E-Drive, diversification is further required in terms of e-bus segment, in which we are looking for e-bus applications, and we are also planning to diversify in terms of automotive segment. So this has been a journey for us, and now I would like to move to the other part of the question which you talked about, localization. It's a tricky one, but let me try to handle it more gracefully. Well, India is actually in the cups of an important market right now, where we see all the global markets, US, China, Europe, are not showing a very prominent growth. India still seems to be holding the flag, and we still seems to be holding a decent amount of market. Localization is a need of hour, no doubt about that. Whether it's going to happen in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, no one knows. But from LG's perspective, India is a very keen market for us. And all I can say is, in a limited capacity, whatever I have, that localization will happen eventually. We are also evaluating, we are also trying to explore the opportunities, and then we will see what best is to be done. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Agarwal, I was speaking to your colleague, Mr. Amit Paithankar, in the first stop, and we discussed a lot about your solar module manufacturing business. We all know that Waaree is coming up with an IPO, so I will try to be. The questions will be industry related and not Waaree specific. Yeah. So, like after a tremendous success, what essentially made that decision? Why Waaree decided to enter into battery? Any specific reason? Maybe if you can talk about. And also, we understand that you have applications, you have products for stationary applications like rooftops, street lights, so on and so forth. If you can talk about kind of an opportunity that you foresee in those kind of a decentralized application for storage.
Am I audible? Yeah. So rightly said, after having a great success in solar PV, why battery? So let me tell you a brief. Waaree has been into this battery pack manufacturing business for last 3 years and doing relatively good. Now, as the country is progressing towards a greener tomorrow, and given the intermittency of the renewable generation sources which are going to come, I'll give you certain data points like we intend to be 500 gigawatt by 2030. 50% of the generation has to come from the renewable sources. Added to that would be some 80 gigawatt of thermal power plants that would be coming. Now, if you see the major chunk, and when we talk about the 50% of the generation is going to come from the renewable generation. So renewable is not something, solar is present for 8 hours a day. Wind only पवन भगवान को ही मालूम है कि कब हवा चलेगी कब नहीं. At times, ideally, if you see the landscape of the wind profile in India, morning 4-5 hours, evening 4-5 hours, at times midnight. Only in certain seasons, when you call it the monsoon seasons, the wind is throughout the day. So given this kind of an intermittency, you need to have some accumulator in between, which can store this energy when we are in excess, do a time displacement, but not necessarily, when I say time displacement, it can last for a day, not lasting for weeks or months together, otherwise you don't get the asset utilization. So given this kind of an opportunity landscape that the country is going to pose, not necessarily whatever numbers I'm talking about will be the truth of tomorrow, but definitely yes, let us say if we say maybe 75% gets done or maybe 80% get done, so maybe let us for that matter 50% gets done. So it's a humongous opportunity for all. So making that kind of a thing when everybody would be participating, why we should not be doing it, or why at least we should not give it a thought. So that is the kind of thing that propelled, let us at least start thinking about.
The second part of the question, what kind of an opportunity you see in the rooftops and the decentralized applications like street lights, rooftops, etc.
So with the kind of setup that and the Indian landscape, especially the rural areas, and the kind of opportunities with the PM Surya Ghar Yojana that is posing, that making cheaper electricity for anybody who has a capability to do some kind of initial capex with subsidy from the government. So again, the same funda would come in. We will have to do a time shifting. When a time shifting has to be there, and for till that time the other means of technology, other means of storage becomes viable, which seems to be difficult, especially in the domestic sector. So this form of chemical storage is the thing which is going to be predominant. With the targets what the country is now taking in terms of this PM Surya Ghar Yojana, or maybe with the kind of renewables sector that is getting developed pan-India, the requirement of the rooftop accumulators, the kind of a requirement of the solar street lights across is humongous. When probably if you start developing, probably you will have orders on hand and you will not be able to deliver. So that is the kind of market India is seeing. And going forward, this market probably it's not a one-off kind of a demand that it is going to subside in a week, 10 days, month, year, or 2 years. It is going to be continuously improving. other day I was just having one debate with somebody, and again, the industry is full of wars between EV versus stationary storage. So his point of argument was, maybe let us see a forward-looking something kind of 2030. What should be the scenario, whether EV would surpass stationary or stationary would surpass EV?
Sir, if you can hold it little close to your mouth.
So now I'm clear. So probably, so the question was whether EV would surpass stationary or stationary would surpass EV. अब ये तो chicken and egg story है. But on the hindsight, if you see that, let us say we take a case of EV. Where will the EV charging come from? And given, and if you connect the dots, maybe as for some time, please assume that you're in the year 2030. 500 gigawatt added capacity of renewable generation that is up and running. EVs on the roads. Sham ko EVs at home. It requires charging. But in evening, neither the sun would be there, neither the wind would be there. So where do you charge from? Given the kind of penetration of renewable that is going to come and the type of thermal power plants that are going to retire, so the energy only has to come from grid. And when it needs to come from grid at that point of time, the renewable resources or the instantaneous generation of renewable is absent. It has to come from stationary storage. So if you try to connect the dots, ऐसा नहीं है कोई आगे है कोई पीछे है. So what I'm trying to build around, it's not only EV, it's not only stationary, it's the entire ecosystem of the entire battery storage that is going to foresee a growth. Last session was on recycling. Humongous potential, humongous growth. So if you see, I don't see there is any dearth of opportunity another 10 to 15 years going ahead. And that is why we all should be forward looking, seeing the kind of opportunities this market is going to provide.
Thank you. Now, next question to Mr. Arora. So, I think Exicom in a very short time has become a prominent player for the critical applications, storage for critical application, which include telecom, data center, etc. If you can talk about a little bit of your company's journey and kind of an opportunity that you see, especially with the advent of 5G that is coming now. And one point, like we were talking about telecom towers growing at 20,000 towers in a year, we just suddenly started adding 60,000 towers. Now close to around probably 8 lakh towers now, and can be 1.5 million towers. Considering that, what kind of an opportunity that you see in the storage space?
Thanks, Rudra. Thanks for having me here. So we as an entity, Exicom started off in '94 in India. And we started off as an entity which was just planning to develop power solutions in India. At that point in time, there were global conglomerates which were there. And then we intended to develop the technology in India. So it took us almost 14 years, 1.5 decades to stabilize it and then compete with all the global conglomerates. And then, so by 2000, we were actually one of the prominent players in the power conversion system industry in India. And then in 2000, we incubated few other solutions in terms of renewable solutions. We incubated involvement of integration of renewable solution with the current power solutions which we were existingly selling to the market. Then we were able to actually foresee the requirement, the opportunity of lithium ion early on, and then as Prashant rightly mentioned that the first pack was installed in 2012. We started working on it in 2010. So the team started working the packs, validating the packs. As Mr. Arya also mentioned, it is not about getting the batteries and then pushing them in the field. It is about validation so that it works as it is required to, and then the manufacturing capacities have to be there so that you are able to serve the market. So in 2010, we started working on that. And then by 2012, we were also there with the first pack deployed. And then we were actually very, very lucky that Jio at that point in time was planning to launch their network. And then the first company who deployed the largest lithium-ion industry, lithium-ion batteries in the telco network in the country. and then they were the one who were the actually front runners of establishing lithium-ion battery industry in India, I will say. If it wasn't Geo, I think we would be seeing a very slightly slower path, of adoption of lithium-ion batteries in India, right? So kudos to Geo there. And then in 2016, we could again early foresee diversify ourselves into EV chargers. And then starting today, we are a prominent leader in EV charging market in India for both the residential, commercial, as well as the charging station market. So we are there. And standing today, I feel very proud that we are a company who design, develop, manufacture in India. And we are able to serve approximately 40 countries from here. So proud of being there.
Okay, thanks for that introduction. I'll now go to Mr. Atul Arya. Sir, you talked about that all these technologies will coexist, and because lithium ion would also be there, sodium would be, but the applications, etc., would be different. But in the previous session, we were discussing about where India is lagging is more in terms of R&D and the innovation. Now, all these technologies will come. We will probably be manufacturing also, but will India actually be able to take lead in terms of innovation or developing something here in India? Because as of now, majority of the technologies are coming from the other countries, which we are adopting or which we are manufacturing here. What do you see that, how India can lead in terms of innovation or in terms of battery technology development?
This is a very tough question, not directed to the right person, honestly, because this is a question for the government of the country. They have to set up the ecosystem for R&D. R&D is not specific to one area. R&D is like a cultural thing. Do we like R&D in this country? Do we like R&D in this country? Who likes it? Who is investing in R&D? You like it, but you are not investing it, right? If you look at the R&D budget of the top companies of the country, they are minuscule compared to the global companies. Now, I'm not saying the absolute amount. I'm talking about the percentage. Very large companies globally, whether it is Japanese, European, American, to maintain their lead, to create an innovative product, invest in R&D. Now, and as you know, whatever people demand, people will also produce. So if no demand for R&D, I'm sorry to say, I'm also part of Indian education system, coming from a so-called premier institute, but there are not enough people in the colleges who are willing to take up R&D or science research as their subject. In the olden days when I was growing up, chartered accountant, doctor, engineer. Today maybe lawyer, couple of more professions, even influencer, but nothing to do with R&D. And moderator, TV anchor, but no R&D, right? Is any parent telling the child that you become a scientist? I don't think so, right? So I think the problem is very deep rooted, very, very deep rooted. And you're talking about battery. And by the way, it is becoming even more difficult because the technology has taken leaps and bounds. If we were doing 50 years back, maybe it was within our reach. But if we do it now, it has already progressed beyond what we could so easily. At the same time, there is a still better chance because with the internet, with the information technology, with the global travel, with Indian diaspora going to US, everywhere, there is a large amount of levelization, but we need to set our priorities right. And the priorities will happen only if the investment and investment not just in terms of money, investment in terms of human capital. When a father will say, okay, I'll make my child scientist, that is also an investment. And I think only in that scenario, we will have chance of R&D or innovation happening at a larger scale, which can challenge the global R&D. Innovation is happening today. Also, we have a very robust ecosystem for startups. It started with the word Jugaad, and now it is called startup. So we are moving ahead. We are in the stage where we are learning, but we are not really there that we can challenge the global R&D today, right? So to say that we will do R&D in next 2 years or 5 years or 6 years or 10 years will be a big statement to make without any basis.
So the technologies will keep on coming to India and we'll essentially be using them for manufacturing. That is what you were saying, at least in the near future.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why you see the kind of schemes our government launches is production linked incentive. It doesn't say R&D linked incentive,
There is a
because they're actually welcoming that bring the technology here. I'll give you manpower. I'll manufacture. I can manufacture at a lower cost. So they are wanting to, and I mean, we don't need to look beyond, right? We are. I mean, if you look at our GDP, a large contribution comes from which industry in manufacturing? Automotive.
Yeah.
And we have PLI for automotive, which clearly indicates that we don't have a local development even in automotive, which we claim is one of our largest industries, right? So is battery our largest industry? We all have been talking battery is a nascent industry. So, I mean, you can imagine what is our status. So I don't think, I'm very candid, but I don't think we have a chance as a country to succeed in R&D in next 5 or 10 years without any investment in human capital, in our educational institutions aligning to it, our educational top institutions. The news I read in the newspapers, including today morning, is that placement season is starting. And placement season, suddenly news will come, the highest package is 1.5 crore. In which industry? Banking,
consulting, etc.
consulting, IT.
Yeah.
Will anybody claim that one of our students, even one student, has gone and started doing research in this research lab? Nobody is interested. So I think our overall system is not aligned. And I'm sorry, but we can keep talking about R&D, but it will remain only 3 English words: research and development. Beyond that, it will not move.
Okay, I'll move to Mr. Kumar now. So now with that being
But before that, I would like to say that's a very interesting thoughts from you, Atul sir. Really, that's very well said. I think in Indian context, I should say like this. Yes, to a greater extent, we are all able to resonate. What you made some interesting points.
So,
Over to you, please.
So in line with that, I think then India will have a lot of dependency, right? Not only in
Yeah.
terms of technology, but also in terms of raw materials, right? So being one of the prominent manufacturer, how you do manage those kind of risk and uncertainties and the dependencies on the raw materials like cobalt, nickel, etc. All of that. How do you manage
I
that?
think Rudulji, you already decided to ask all the tricky questions with me. It looks like that. Anyhow, so that's another very good question, that how the Indian landscape is developing up, right? In terms of raw materials, as we all know that major part of the raw materials are coming from some of the very limited countries, whether it's China, Australia, Chile, Bolivia. But at the same time, the usage of these raw materials, how we can further enhance the capacities of Indian context. Recently, we found that there was a lithium ion reserves found in India, in Jammu Kashmir, Raisena. It will take some bit of a time. It will take some bit of a time, 3 or 5 years down the line. The tenders were also floated, but I heard that unfortunately none of the Indian companies were unable to participate in that, right? So when we talk about important raw materials, some of the parameters which I think, in my personal opinion, can be that we should start promoting more localization. Over a period of time, once the countries or once the companies will start manufacturing the cells in India, see, eventually we cannot stop it directly because a lot of dependency is still on the China, a lot of dependency is still on the other countries which are being currently importing the raw material. But over a period of time, the government, which is already taking some corrective measures, they will come up with some new policies in which the private public partnerships will be encouraged so that private companies can start investing more in the mining in Indian industries, in domestic value addition, and a complete ecosystem of the supply chain can be established, where the processing can also play an important role. So it will eventually take some time, but I think we are moving on the right track, I should say like this. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Yeah. My next question is to Mr. Agarwal. So we are talking about there is a PLI for advanced chemistry sales. I think some good 50,000 gigawatt hour of, if I'm not wrong, I think that is a kind of a 50 gigawatt hour of already projects have already been given. But I think other than that, quite a number of companies are actually coming up with a cell facilities which are non-PLI under non-PLI. And to understand from your side that are the current incentives good enough for kind of an investments coming in the storage sector? Do you think there is good enough incentives, or government should do more to encourage more investment in the cell manufacturing primarily, not the module, the cell, because everybody one is.
No, I got your point, and probably I will try to resonate with Mr. Atul what he said last. The government of India is coming up with production-linked incentive. So now the key question remains: where does the technology come from? And let us say if you tie up for a technology transfer with some company X state, probably established overseas, the kind of formula that they will pass on to you, and if you try to substitute those with the Indian materials that are being produced, either let us say with the mining in J&K or the recyclers providing you the materials, whether that would ever get qualified for making that kind of a product that is intended for with a technology partner. So if you do all those kind of mathematics, probably what it would emerge, the raw material, primarily the source, would remain the country in the east. If I try to compare in terms of the quality of the raw material vis-a-vis the price parity. Secondly, the most important element, जैसे एक कहावत होती है कि बिल्ली ने शेर को सब कुछ सिखाया लेकिन पेड़ पे चढ़ना नहीं सिखाया. So whether we would fall into that kind of a fallacy कि ठीक है यार सब कुछ तो मालूम है बट कुछ वो नहीं मालूम. So that is where, and I totally agree with Mr. Atul, unless the substantial amount of investment goes into R&D, it will be very difficult for a country like India, although there are lot many centers who claim ki Eureka, Eureka, I have a formula, I have a formula. But those formulas have been tried either at a half coin level or maybe coin or maybe pouch, but not on an industrial scale. So coming to your question again, कि ये सब होगा कैसे? And let us see, probably see what has been the outcome of the last two PLIs. So first PLI was for 20 gigawatt, 3 parties came in. In the second PLI, everything got over to one party. Maybe subsequently, what would happen, the other PLIs would come. But whether the kind of opportunities that India is posing forward to, and the kind of sustenance or the PLI schemes that are coming forward to are in consonance or no. So there's a huge delta. Secondly, if a company is already getting a PLI, although PLI is post-production, but definitely if you say all those arithmetic formulas, NPV calculation, this and that, so the companies which did not get a PLI would be competing in the same space with the companies with a PLI and the imports from Eastern countries. Consumer को क्या चाहिए? India, I think everybody would agree, is a cost-sensitive country. The price matters. Quality remains, let us say, consistent. Then the second quality thing is price. So in that kind of a competing space, how does one survive? Without a country, without having too much infrastructure into R&D, too much investment into R&D, dependence on technology from outside, raw materials maybe at times would come, most of them from outside. How do we do it? So I've seen many partners from hall number, you can say 5 to 7, selling raw materials, selling electrolytes. So, it's up to the country probably putting in those kind of schemes and the investment that is going to scale up. I was talking to certain bankers also, what would be their perspective in terms of financing of the projects that are ongoing on ground, or maybe what is the kind of risk that is being perceived, not especially battery, it is for any new technology that is coming in. A lot many people are talking about wind turbine manufacturing in India. So all those kind of stuff. So they seem to be a bit skeptical. Skeptical in the sense they want to have a surety on returns, which anybody would like to have. On the same side, they see यार टेक्नोलॉजी तो बाहर से आ रही है, बाहर वाला कब अपनी दुकान बंद कर देगा आपको पता नहीं, और टेक्निकल सपोर्ट will go off. So all those questions are around. But definitely yes, in terms of policy, what I feel should be happening around apart from PLI would be some kind of a measures in terms of let us say you can say probably custom duties or things like that, tariff or non-tariff barriers for the industry to grow in addition to the PLI. And PLI also should be scaled up, not only limited to 50 gigawatt, and some kind of a we need to think in fact की policy whether we can put in कि यार 3 gigawatt से ज़्यादा किसी को नहीं मिलेगा या 5 gigawatt, some numbers, so that people have a piece of pie and it should not be left. For example, the last PLI that got concluded, and let us say if others say यार उसको तो 10 रुपए मिल जाएंगे, मेरे को तो क्या मिलेगा, and they take a back seat. So this dream of country being a self-fulfilling country may not be achieved.
Okay. So I think a lot need to be done. I go to Ankur now. So you promoting technology which is called smart LIB for the telecom applications. So if you can actually talk a little bit about that and how that is benefiting and how that technology can be extrapolated for the other applications.
So thanks that you noticed that we launched that in this exhibition itself, and that's a smart lithium-ion battery which we were trying to promote. Since I mentioned earlier that we entered the foray early on in 2010, and then thereon we have been able to almost manage to supply approximately 6 lakh packs in India and nearby countries, very small in nearby countries, but majorly in India. Now, what we could see is that India, the telecom network definitely has a very long existing infrastructure which is there in terms of battery, which are existing batteries in terms of lead acid and other chemistries. Now, it's very, very difficult for the operator to replace the complete capex in a single go. So it makes it more sense if by somehow we can modify the technology and then utilize it by in augmenting the backup requirements of the telco network, which is their primary need. And then by doing that, you are able to actually minimize their capex requirement and hence and effectively helping them reduce their OPEX also, which is their primary goal, by utilizing the new technologies, right? And so that's what we were trying to do, and we were trying to develop. We were able to develop that scenario, and then we were able to push it to market. Definitely, there is, as Mr. Agarwal mentioned, that India is a very price-sensitive market. By doing anything new, because the economies are different, because if you're trying to sell a pack, which is a standard pack, and if you're trying to sell a pack which is having a slightly different hardware inside, right? So the numbers of that differential niche requirement will be lower. So the differential of cost will be higher. So it is very difficult to position that by that particular business case scenario. So that's a challenge which we still foresee, and the industry definitely is foreseeing. But definitely there are benefits which the customer is able to drive out of it. Now, coming to the second part of it, which you mentioned, I am very, very optimistic about the technology, and that's why I've been promoting it, and we as an entity have been promoting it. The second question you mentioned is how can this be utilized in other segments? Now, as Mr. Arya also mentioned and Mr. Agarwal mentioned that as we go, and then it was mentioned in the previous panel discussion also that the warranties are increasing. Previously, the warranties of batteries used to be 2 years, 3 years approximately, and now it is currently it is 5 to 6 years approximately, Prashant, right? For standard packs, and going to 10 years and 15 years. People are also offering 20 years approximately of battery, right? Now, if we do that, so now with consider a capex which is invested of 1 CR, and 5 years down the line, if you do not have a possibility to augment the backup to increase it to 10 years, because the battery will not be dead in 5 years, but definitely it cannot be mixed with the normal batteries again to augment the capacities. There will be recycling current, and then that creates a problem. So using this kind of a technology, we can harvest, we can utilize the existing capex to the best of value, and then we can augment the capacities for more backup and longer lifetimes. I'll give you an example. Consider there's a project wherein 1 gigawatt of storage is installed. 10 years down the line, the capacity is reduced to let's say 600 megawatt hour. And now with that, one option is that you replace the complete pack, you recycle it, use it elsewhere, and then put a new pack of 1 gigawatt, which is significant investment in itself. The other could be, if you utilize this kind of solution, you can augment the capacity by incremental 400 megawatt, and then you can save on 600 megawatt of capacity capex deployment. So that's the inclination which we intend to work on, and we hopefully will be able to add some value to the industry. Yeah.
That is great to know. So I think we have a time check, right? Yeah. So I think the last set of questions. So Mr. Arya, I think we talked about all kind of the hindrances that we have. But then Make in India is also not only for meeting the local demand, but also to tap the global market. And there is a huge global EV and the stationary storage demand. Knowing the Indian manufacturing landscape, what do you think that what all things would be critical to kind of cater to the global market and to get some kind of success? We are already seeing a good amount of success in the solar PV industry, at least, where Indian companies are already exporting to the US market. There is regulations like IRA, etc. Can we replicate the similar kind of success for batteries, not battery pack primarily, but battery sales, etc.? Can we export to other countries?
Sorry, but I have this problem with the question again. Not the question, but it's basically the market definition. You say global market, local market. I don't see there are two markets. There is only one market. Market is market. And it's very clear. Even before Apple was sold here, people used to bring it. So Apple had a market in India. Small, that's okay. So there is only one market. There are segments which you can say that, this segment is for me and this segment is for my competitor. So Indian companies or Indian businesses need to identify the segment they want to operate in. Because I hear this every time, that India is a cost sensitive market. India is a cost sensitive segment, not market, right? Market is only one, and within India also there is a bigger segment which is not sensitive. And again, you can see that, there are people queuing up and people are coming from all over the world, all over the country to Delhi to buy iPhone 16, right? So they are not cost sensitive at all. I am cost sensitive because I've never gone to that store, but there are people, right? So we need to identify our
So
segment.
I am one of those people. Thank
You stood in the queue?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No, I already got iPhone 16.
Yeah,
It was
okay.
my birthday gift. So
Yeah. So the question is that what Indian companies should do. Indian companies have to choose their segment. If their segment is India, then I agree. And within India also the cost sensitive segment. Then I agree that they will have to choose a set of market and develop products like that. But if your segment is in the US, they need to develop the product which suit that market, which means that you don't need to really think about pricing alone, because everybody knows you make money in US if you sell, right? Everybody makes money in Europe. You don't make money in India, you don't make money in Africa. But there are companies who have designed products who are trying to sell it to Africa also. So you need to choose the product, you need to choose the segment, and then accordingly align your company in that direction, that you produce a low cost product, and which is what a lot of Chinese companies have done, by the way. They are successful in India because they understood this message which you are giving. We are all talking openly that we are a cost sensitive country, we are a cost sensitive country. So they have heard very clearly. They have good translators. So in Chinese, they have heard that Indians need a product which is cheap, and they have brought those products here, and we are buying them happily. So we need to act smart, and we need to exactly define which is our segment, and then develop products and go there. That's a simple thing which we have to do.
Very well put, sir. Uh, uh, my question is a little more futuristic. I think the kind of an promotion that government is doing, a kind of an capacities that is coming, the EV industry has to click, because obviously we are talking about the power sector that is also kind of would be generating. But then I think a lot of companies are kind of investing in facilities that will be catering to the EV segment. Now, with all said and done, we still didn't reach to that inflection point. There are a lot of issues. Except the three-wheeler, I think the two-wheeler market, still the penetration is not very high. Four-wheeler, e-buses, etc., everywhere penetration is very low. We are talking about 30% penetration by 2030. First of all, question is for yes, is for you. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
So is that a reality? Do you think that 30 EV 30 at 2030, is that a reality? Second thing is, I think for EV market, the local state government and the central government need to act together to kind of push that EV to that kind of growth that we are talking about. What would be your suggestions or a few bit of inputs?
Sure. Thank you for asking. Let me take you the second question first. You talked about the cooperation between the central government and the state government, and also what can be the better synergies which can be developed. When I look my experience back, I think 5-6 years down the line, initially I could definitely resonate, and I can see that there have been some mismatches. For instance, when the tender used to be taken out from any of the agencies, for instance, like NTPC or SECI or any of the other agencies, then the coordination between the central and the states were not very smooth, I should say like this. But over a period of time, what has happened is both the coordinations from the central ministries and from the state discoms, it has become.
Let's take 5 minutes more. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. So the coordination between central and state government have become quite cardinal. Earlier, the tender used to have the tendency of getting a little bit more delayed. But now, while the viability gap fund is there and the prices of the raw materials have dropped down very significantly, so the business case has become very much viable. Which means whenever there is a tender, the state discoms are very much interested to take that tender immediately. PPAs are getting signed, and the synergy between the central and the state coordinations are becoming very, very smooth. Recently, I think 1 or 2 gigawatt-hour tenders have been allotted to some of the big Indian companies in India, and almost a pipeline of around 8 to 10 gigawatt-hour in terms of ESS has already been laid down. So now the state discoms are taking very proactive measures because the prices have significantly fallen down. They see there's a business case with solar plus batteries. So this has been one of the very significant process. Now let me move down to the first question, EV at 30. Yes, I'm an optimistic person, and I believe that when this mission was launched, where the 13 countries were involved, starting from co-chaired by China and Canada, if I remember correctly, and of course India is also one of the members over there. So all the countries made a pledge that by 2030 we should have 30% of EVs, which includes various segments, for instance, like buses, for trucks, LCVs, two-wheelers, and three-wheelers. The journey won't be that easy, that's for sure, but it has to be a collective efforts from all the stakeholders. And what I mean is from all the stakeholders, right from the policy framework, where the government is laying down very strong policies, where the mantra which has been given by our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, the concept of 7 C's into a EV segment. Then there will be a participation from the private companies, putting down the charging infrastructures And then it has to be a complete gamut in terms of awareness to the public that yes, EV will play a very important role with the emissions of the greenhouse gases, with coming of more EVs into the segments and the development of the entire ecosystem. I think EV30 is going to be possible. Yes, challenges are there, but as I said, let's be optimistic. A lot has been done, a lot more will be done. So let's wait for the time.
Because that has to happen for this kind of, and all these investments are coming to be viable. That has to happen. Okay, Mr. Agarwal,
Yeah.
I think we have very less time, but if you can, our last session was actually on recycling, etc. But maybe if you can give us some understanding on recycling, end of life batteries, some comments around that.
Sure. And it's my total personal perception. I'll be happy to be proved wrong. I definitely see a lot of potential in recycling, and as because it is going to reduce the use of the virgin materials that are going to come en route this LFP, or what do you call as the lithium ion, any chemistry of battery manufacturing. The second thing is probably then the most prominent, and that we should not forget, it would bring employment in the country. And to a greater extent, it is a dirty job, and dirty job being done by good people. The only thing as a corporate, we should also have one responsibility to tell those guys, yaar, iski chemistry kya hai? I was talking to certain of my friends who are in this recycling industry, and they are not very sure कि जो मेरे पास ये रिसाइकलिंग के लिए बैटरी आ रही है वो 622 है 811 है क्या? तो this is a challenge, and probably I think this 2022 whatever policy making we are doing, the labeling on the battery may be mandatory. And to tell you very honestly, the lithium ion chemistry is no more a rocket science. It's not something which is undisclosed. In fact, to the Eastern countries, if you talk them about, they say it's a formula like H2O. Only minor dilutions or concentrations of the electrolyte is what matters. I do not know to what extent it is true, but definitely if that be the case, let us help our recycling guys.
Thank you. Ankur, any concluding remarks from your side related to the future of storage in telecom, data centers, etc.?
So-
And then we'll open it for the public.
I'm actually waiting for that buzzer to ping in again because it's 22nd. But yeah, I think it has been a beautiful discussion, and definitely there is a huge potential, as Mr. Agarwal mentioned. There is no dearth of opportunity wherever you see. Either it is street lighting, telecom, data center, big grade energy storage solutions. There is ample abundance of opportunity, and then it is only about choosing the right niche for where you want to market it, right? So I think it's a good thing, and then I think next 10 years are looking very, very promising.
Thank you. Any question from the audience? We'll take a couple of questions.
Hi, this is Kunal from Molson. It was quite encouraging. I've always enjoyed these discussions where we're talking about what is happening on the battery front, at least the manufacturing front. I'll take a little backward on the supply chain. My question to you is, there's massive amount of companies looking into components manufacturing, be it cathode, anode, and all of that. In terms of battery making, do you see any green shoots that SME companies here like myself should look into? Either of you could throw 3 or 4 things. Maybe it's silicon foams, maybe it's battery casing, some sort of ideas that you have understood that yes, there is absolute localization happening, at least on the ancillaries for these batteries. The journey to cathode material, anode material, electrolyte is a long one. But are there immediate milestones that industry can set up so that the SME segment, which can actually get into this, can provide you products that can be made in India, at least a part of whatever you're targeting to localize? This is open-ended. If anybody of you has ideas, I'll be going back to my drawing board and writing them down, but happy to hear you out.
So let me try to initiate the answer, and then I think Resh can add to it. as you mentioned, what can be done now, right? For a company in India, what kind of localization can be done? As we all know, sales currently, we are on the verge of it, but still waiting for it. So cathode anode will definitely follow, and then will be there very very shortly. But once you localize a pack here, there are very very clear products which are needed to make a pack. For example, sheet metal canopy definitely is very very eminent part of it, and then it is needed in very good numbers. It needs more precision, and then hence precision is very very critical to ensure the fitment of the pack is very very optimal. BMS has been localized to a very great extent, right? So the components of BMS as well as the BMS itself, the processors, everything is very very critically needed, and then good manufacturers, good designers, and then good BMS optimizers are very very important to start with. And then definitely the associated items like harnessing, power and cable harnessing, and the couple mending and everything, those are important. There are also other software related requirements for heat management, which are very very critical once you design a pack, localize a pack, validate a pack. Those are very very critical. So till the time we get a cell from there, when you are currently actually only localizing the pack, these in my view are very very basic and needed. There are more details, but on the face of it, these are very very prominent.
Oh, thanks for the insightful discussion. This is two-part question, one to Mr. Arya and Mr. Prashant Kumar. Has LG and Panasonic taken a position that we're not going to compete in the best market with LFP chemistry? And has it only relegated itself to certain segments? Mr. Arya said that is more targeted towards what they're already doing, because it seems like Chinese companies, whether it's Goshen, REPT, EVE, have taken over, CATL have taken over the best market. So what is the position of LG and Panasonic on that? And the second question is, Panasonic grew together with Tesla, with Kurt Kelty growing the market in the US, LG partnering with GM and a few other companies. And for Indian market to succeed and these companies to succeed, is there a partnership opportunity that you're looking at in Indian market where you can grow with an OEM and customize the chemistry for these OEMs? Is that an offer at all? So these first one is about LFP. What's the stance on that? And then what's happening with the Indian chemistry? How to bring your cylindrical cell chemistry to the Indian existing market?
I don't know if I understood the question very well, but I'll try to answer whatever I understood. That is one. And second, maybe I'll still not answer everything because you'll have to come to our boardroom and sign an NDA if I answer all the questions. So, no. See, by chemistry side of it, you ask LFP versus whatever we are doing. I think LFP doesn't compete with what we do because of energy density being very, very different segment altogether. And as a company, we have chosen a segment of higher energy density. So as of now, we'll stay there. And second part I understood was that do we bring in some specific chemistry for customers? I really don't know if there is a demand like this, first of all, right? Because chemistry itself has its roadmap, right? And customers also have their roadmap. May or may not match all the time. And like I said in the beginning, it's not easy to just change the chemistry and then start producing from tomorrow, right? Any new product you bring in, it is like bringing a new baby, right? And what you do with the new baby is to really feed in the beginning and then, teach basics and then, feed to, make it bigger and then mature and then only get him married, right? So you have to go through all this cycle. So it's not easy to say that this chemistry can be customized so easily just because a customer is wanting. I think it needs to marry the roadmaps and to give enough time. So that's what I would like to say.
Well, from LG's perspective, I think as I would like to highlight that every technology have their own pros and cons. whether it's NMC or it's LFP. However, from LG's point of view, we have already started developing LFP, and we are already using LFP with our pouch type of cells for the energy storage segments. We have already deployed a couple of big megawatt scale projects based out in US or in Europe. And from the Indian market point of view, we are still trying to evaluate. Because one of the key reasons what we understood is that the prices which is coming from the Chinese LFP player and from the top tier with suppliers like us, there seems to be still some significant gap. So we are trying to mitigate those gaps, but LG has been one of the most technology savvy company. We have always been evolving, and we will be evolving, whether it's LFP, NMC, or going forward with SSD, solid state batteries. So LFP will play its own role, NMC will have their own role. So the technologies will coexist, but every technology have their own particular applications and their own segments. That's what I can say. Thank you.
I hope the questions have been answered. I'm sorry, due to paucity of time, we're already running late. The next session is delayed by almost half an hour. So we won't be taking any more questions, but I will let Mr. Rudranil Roy Sharma tell you what are their booth numbers. You can go there and ask as many questions as you want. I won't be there. All right. So, are there any concluding remarks that you would like to say? No? All right. All right. So thank you so much for that intellectually stimulating session that I just witnessed. I wish I could just let you go on, but duty calls, so can't help it. But yeah, I know, I understand. So as a token of our appreciation, I would request our moderator, Mr. Rudranil Roy Sharma, to please come to the center of the stage and felicitate our panelists. One by one, I will be inviting them, and we will be felicitating them. Please go there, sir. We will provide it to you there only, don't worry. So the first panelist that I would like to call forward to get felicitated is Mr. Ankur Arora. He's the Head of Sales, India and SAARC, Exicom. A huge round of applause for Mr. Ankur Arora, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, I know you all are tired. We can all clap for them. They really enriched our information on the topic, didn't they? Thank you. Thank you so much. The next panelist that I would like to call upon stage is Mr. Atul Arya, who's the Head Energy Systems Division, Panasonic. The next panelist that I would like to call upon stage is Mr. Aditya Agarwal, CEO, Battery Business, Waaree. Next, I would like to call upon stage Mr. Prashant Kumar, who's the Deputy Managing Director, LG Energy Solution India Private Limited. And last but not the least, our esteemed moderator, that is mine. Our esteemed moderator, as you all know, Mr. Rudranil Roy Sharma, who's the Director, Energy and Environment, MEASA, Frost and Sullivan. Sir, I would like to felicitate you personally, if you would allow me. Thank you. And finally, the most important part, the group photograph for memories, requesting everyone to step forward at the front of the stage so that we can capture this moment and look back at it and smile with fond memories.